All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. This is our multi-unit investing in Southern California webinar. My name is AJ Bialik. I'm super excited to present to you guys this evening on Southern California and our multi-unit market. It's a little bit about me. I'm a licensed realtor and advisor here at Marshall Reddick. I've been doing this for about 7 years, going on my 8th year. I attended Concordia University here in Irvine. Majored in exercise and sports science, got my first job in real estate doing commercial real estate 7 years ago. Got my real estate license back then and never looked back. Changed to residential real estate about 3 years in and joined Marshall Reddick in 2017 and been enjoying it ever since. I'm intimately familiar with all of our Marshall Reddick locations in California, Texas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Florida, and I'm an active real estate investor myself. I invest in our mortgage fund, and my family owns a few properties around the nation. All right, so who is Marshall Reddick? Well, we have 4 divisions, and we really pride ourselves in giving white glove service to all of our clients. Our first division is real estate brokerage. We can help buyers, sellers, and investors purchase and sell residential real estate. We have a property management division where we manage properties for our investors and our clients and screen tenants and deal with maintenance and repairs and all the tedious things that landlords don't want to deal with or spend their time doing. We have a private lending division where we can allow clients to borrow or lend out money, either doing fix and flips, bridge loans, renovation loans, or if you currently have 10 conventional loans, you will not be able to qualify for another conventional loan, so you'd have to find private money. We also have an investment fund where, much like you can receive rent checks as a landlord, you can invest in first trust deed mortgages where you're going to receive payments on those mortgages from the person that you are lending money to, so from the borrower. Here's some topics that we're going to cover this evening. We're going to discuss why multifamily. We're going to discuss what a cap rate is. We're going to discuss why value add multifamily is very enticing to investors. We're going to go over property management as well, when I'll bring on Cameron Carlson in our office to discuss the management. We're going to discuss different financing options, and we're going to go over a few case studies in our Costa Mesa, Dana Point, and Burbank markets. What you can expect as an attendee is to just relax and enjoy the free education, ask questions in the chat, engage with each other if you like. If you want to network a little bit, it's all good with us. Write down any questions for consultation. We'll have some time maybe at the end of the meeting here or at a later date where we can hop on a call and really get in depth on these questions that you might have. There's going to be a lot of information here that we're going to go over, and this is merely just the basics. We can dive deep later on. So here's currently our footprint that Marshall Reddick has around the nation. We have brick and mortar offices in Orange County, Riverside, Los Angeles, the Bay Area, Central Texas, in Austin, New Braunfels, San Antonio, and Houston, Southwest Florida, in Cape Coral and Fort Myers, and in Tennessee, we have offices in Nashville, Clarksville, and Oak Grove, Kentucky. All of these markets that I just mentioned, we have property management in those offices. So which brings me back to our white glove service. You know, you're not just buying and selling a home with Marshall Reddick. We can also manage the asset for you and really, really take that burden of, you know, being a landlord off your back and allow us to deal with the nitty-gritty. All right, now before we get started in the meat and bones of everything, let's just go over what the market has been doing the last few years. So I'm sure you've probably heard of this. There's no inventory. All right, thanks to COVID-19 and the pandemic back in 2020, inventory is very scarce for a multitude of reasons. Number one is being the historically low interest rates that we had in 2020 and 2021. A lot of sellers don't see a need to sell their home because they have a 2.75 to 3% interest rate. And if they do sell their home, that's great. They'll get a great price, but where are they going to go? So you've seen inventory get very, very scarce. As you can see, the beginning of 2022, inventory was at an anemic low, an all-time low. And as that year went on and rates went up a little bit, you saw more inventory come on because not as much stuff was trading. All right, this year we're starting off. I wish I had a crystal ball and I could tell you what inventory is going to do, but we're starting off, right in between where we've been in the last few years, not at that anemic low that we saw in 2022, but just below what we saw in 2021 and the beginning of 2023. Now, this is a graph showing demand. Demand is going to be the amount of homes that are going in escrow and changed to a pending sale. This is going to show buyer demand. We are currently right where we were at the beginning of last year. All right, we're a little below where we were in 2021, below where we were in 2022. And with what we're seeing typically on where interest rates should be going, I would expect this graph to follow the trend that we were at in 2023 and even go a little higher. All right, in the last 2 months, we saw the 10-year Treasury note. The 10-year Treasury note is what the Fed base their interest rate hikes and cuts off of. And we've seen that drop over 125 basis points in the last 90 days. Meaning in the next few months, we should potentially see the Fed cutting interest rates, hopefully by May. This will bring more buyers into the market and have buyer demand increase. Obviously, basic human performance towards the end of the year, after school gets back in session, holidays kick in, demand does start to fall off. But typically every year around spring, summer months, you see that demand spike up, as you can see in this graph. All right, so why multifamily and why specifically value add multifamily? First, you have the economies of scale. Multifamily, you're going to own multiple doors, you're going to receive multiple rents. The price per door is going to be substantially lower than a single family residence, right? And the great thing about multifamily is if you have a single family home and that tenant, the lease rolls over and you have to find a new tenant, you are going to be receiving zero income on that asset. If you have multifamily and a tenant's lease expires and you have to find a new tenant, you will at least have 2, 3, 4, 5 units where you're still receiving income while you do the lease rollover, see if there's any renovations that need to be done, put the property back on the market to rent out, and ultimately find a well-qualified tenant. This could take anywhere from 15, 30, 45 days, depending on how clean and good your tenant was beforehand and the price that you're putting it on the market at and when you get a qualified tenant to move in. There's less competition in the multifamily market. That's because usually typical investors start off with a single family home, and there's nothing wrong with that. I myself would start off my first investment with a single family home. But you can grow your portfolio and scale it by getting into multifamily. Multifamily, you can also have some forced appreciation. It's a very simple formula. We could talk where we're going to go over cap rates. You can renovate, increase rents, and refinance. At Marshall Reddick, we have very, very good property management, but not all property managers are as good as us. And it takes a lot of hard work to constantly be making sure that rents are at market, the home's being renovated, and the property's performing at its highest potential. So first, we're going to go over the economies of scale. For example, if you have a 4-unit home at an $800,000 purchase price, that's $200,000 per door. If each unit is running out at $2,250 a month, your gross monthly income would be $9,000 a month. And you only have to maintain one property. Now, if that was a single family home, which would typically be around 250,000 nationwide, you only own one door. That one door cost you $250,000. And let's say that one door brings in $2,250 a month of income. You would now need 4 doors to reach that $9,000 a month monthly nut. And that's going to cost you $1 million compared to 800,000. So that's just an example of the economies of scale that you can get, that you can achieve by buying multifamily property. All right, what is a cap rate? A cap rate is going to be the net operating income of the property divided by the purchase price. What is the net operating income of the property? Well, you're going to take your gross scheduled rents minus your operating expenses, and you'll come up with your net operating income. What are your operating expenses? Well, you're going to have to pay property taxes. You're going to have to pay insurance. You're going to have estimated vacancy. You're going to have estimated maintenance. You might have to pay for landscaping. You might have to pay for a utility, like if you own a 4-unit building and it's on 1 water meter, you might have to pay for water. These are all operating expenses. So your net operating income will be all the rent that you're receiving minus those operating expenses. You get your net operating income, you divide that by the purchase price, and that's a cap rate. Cap rates typically range anywhere from 3% to 6%, depending on what market that you're in. Cap rate's a very easy metric where you can measure the income earned by the property with your simple equation. On the flip side, you can do cap rate reversion. When you're sitting there shopping for properties, if you decide I want to buy in this specific market at a 6% cap rate, you can then take the net operating income of a property, which is typically marketed by a listing agent. You can divide it by your cap rate that you want to purchase, and that's going to spit out the value that you'd be writing an offer. So it's really fun to play with this equation. If you're saying, you know, I really need to get a 6% cap rate, you can find the NOI of a property, divide it by your 6%, and that's now the value that you're going to be writing an offer at. The cap rate doesn't always pencil out the exact same way. Everybody has a different take on what the cap rate should be for a property. Obviously, a seller is going to try to make their NOI look as inflated as possible to raise the value of their property. But that's why it's very important to work with an experienced buyer's agent who can then ask that seller's agent, what about your estimated vacancy? What about your estimated maintenance? What about your utilities? Are you sure you pay that much for your insurance? You know, insurance has been going up a lot recently, and it's very important to make sure everyone's actually telling the truth about their operating expenses on their property. That's where having a very qualified real estate professional comes into play. Properties can be valued by average neighborhood cap rates that properties change hands at, meaning just like you're buying a single-family residential home, we can pull up comps, sale comps on multifamily homes. We can run what the net operating income of those properties were. We can divide it by the purchase price, and we can see what the average cap rate is in that neighborhood. For example, I live in Dana Point. The average cap rate in Dana Point is going to be anywhere from 3 to 4%. Each county, each city, each area sells at a different cap rate, valued by comparable sales that have closed in that area. For example, if you're in coastal Orange County, cap rates are going to be much lower because you have much more appreciation. Corona del Mar, Newport Beach, Dana Point, Costa Mesa, you're going to see cap rates in that 2.5 to 4% range. As you go more inland to Anaheim and Riverside, you're going to see cap rates rise to 5, 6, 6.5%. That's because you're going to get a little more cash flow in those markets, but over time, you're not going to get the same amount of appreciation in those markets. So it's really about what your goals are and what you're specifically looking for and how much capital you have to put down. I'm going to go over our private lending programs that we have here at Marshall Reddick. Like I said, we are a private lender. We have rental loans, renovation loans, bridge loans. It's all based off of the asset. So your credit doesn't matter, your income does not matter. You would need to put typically about 20% down, but it's going to be asset-based financing. It's really key for clients with a complicated file, someone who's self-employed, or maybe someone who's retired and has no income. And it's really perfect for 2 to 4 plus unit properties where you might need to do some light renovating to bring those rents up to market. We have very reasonable fees, very reasonable interest rates. We can close super fast. We've had clients close as fast as 4 to 7 days if need be, up to 21 days. Doesn't really take any longer than that unless you specifically want it to. We can do long-term rental loans, renovation loans, bridge loans, and new construction programs are available as well. Here's a look at some of our long-term rental loans over 30-year amortization, starting from 7.95 up to 9.45%. Here's a look at some of our renovation loans. Our renovation loans, you have to put 20-25% down. You could put as low as 10% down. You'll see that the interest rate is slightly higher, but you do not have to put any money down for the renovation loan. Bridge loan. Bridge loans can come into play a lot in real estate. All it takes is for your lender that promised you the world to drop the ball, and all of a sudden you're at the closing table not able to close. Well, that's when a bridge loan comes into play. We could get, as long as the asset qualifies and you have enough down, we could close that bridge loan the next day and make sure that you still purchase the property and don't miss out on your opportunity. All right, that was our private lending. Now, conventional loan programs. Primary resident non-jumbo loans are right around 6.5%. Now, this is also taken into account that you have a good credit score and the income to purchase the property. Primary resident non-jumbo loan is about 6.875% currently, which is really nice to see because in October of last year, these numbers were floating right around the 8% range. So you can just see with the 10-year Treasury note coming down 125 basis points the last 60 days, it has already lightened up interest rates. Primary resident multifamily unit, you're at 6.75%. Investment property with 25% down and no points being paid by yourself or the seller, you'll be at 7.25%. Investment property with 30% down and no points from the seller, you'll be right around 7%. Investment property with a 2% sales price credit towards your rate buy down, you can get down to 6.25%. And lastly, primary residence rate with a 2% sales price credit towards your rate buy down, we could get you as low as 5.875%. Now you're probably wondering, why is there only a 2% sales price credit? Because on a conventional loan, that is the most amount you can have credited towards your rate buy down. And it's very typical in today's market, especially outside of California or in certain markets where maybe a property isn't moving so fast. It's been on the market for 3, 4, 5 months and that seller really wants to get it off their hands. They might just credit you 2% of the sales price to help you buy down your interest rate to make sure that you're going to close on that property. Now, to the right of your screen, you'll see these numbers. What do these numbers mean? These are the conforming loan limits for 2024. The Fed comes out with these numbers every year. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac come out with these numbers. They're the conforming loan limits. these have gone up year after year now the last 5 years. If you look on the right hand or the left hand column, these are your average conforming loan limits around the nation. If you look at the right hand column, these are where properties in LA, San Diego, pricey high income markets, these are the loan limits. So on a 4-unit property conventional loan, you can borrow as high as $2,211,000 if you have, of course, the down payment. If you want to know more about conventional financing, this is Reed Hazard. He's the branch manager at CMG Mortgage down in San Clemente. Reed's been working with Marshall Reddick for over 20 years. He's an investor himself, and he's really just a wizard when it comes to conventional financing. Reed has a very large portfolio that he owns himself, and he's never going to sell you on anything. Reed's purely a complimentary consultation. He loves to talk about investment property and just point his clients in the correct direction. If there's ever a bad idea, he'll let you know right away that's a bad idea. All right. Now we have a growing, I mentioned we do property management. Right now we manage about 3,000 doors nationwide. We have a growing portfolio of managed buildings, and I'm going to introduce Cameron Carlson here with our property management division. He's going to go over a few examples and talk about our property management.
Thanks, AJ. I appreciate the introduction. I'm going to briefly go over some management and a little bit about me. I'm a licensed realtor as well, locally here in Orange County. I got my bachelor's in business administration from Vanguard University. I have a background in accounting, loan underwriting, and property management, all real estate focused and related. And I've done real estate transactions in 7 states to date. And I'm a mortgage fund investor. So when AJ was mentioning the fund earlier, I currently invest in the fund. So I'm a real estate advisor here, a realtor, but I'm also a representative of our property management. So I'm going to kind of dive more into a property management today and then show you a couple of our multifamily examples that we manage locally here. So first, to give you an idea of our management philosophy, we believe that we should only profit when you as the landlord profits. And what I mean by that is we charge a percentage of the rent collected. So when you collect a rent check, we collect our management fee. And we don't charge when the property is vacant. So if there's no one on the property, there's no management fee charged. At the same time, we also don't charge for maintenance. So we find it to be a huge conflict of interest if there is a management company that does their own in-house maintenance. Rather than that, what we do is we outsource our maintenance to our large list of third-party vendors. All of these vendors have been vetted through our system. They're all licensed, bond, and insured, and then we just get multiple quotes for work needed. Then there's no conflict of interest. We don't have a handyman on our tool belt or a kickback from these vendors. So our management fees are pretty simple and straightforward. There's essentially 3 fees for management. First is going to just be your month-to-month management fee. That's going to be the inclusive of the full service management. So Marshall Reddick takes care of everything, making it very easy and simple for you as the owner. Rent collections, lease, if there's any evictions, we handle that. Whatever that looks like on the day-to-day maintenance. And second is our leasing fee. And then after that is going to be our renewal fee. So we do a 12-month lease here at Marshall Reddick with our tenants. At the end of the 12 months, we want to do an inspection on the home. We want to renew the lease for another year and increase the rent. Like AJ was mentioning earlier, it's really important, especially with these multifamily properties, that you're staying on top of these tenants with maintenance and making sure the properties are upkept, as well as staying on top of the rents. So it's good to take a look at the market every year and see if you can increase the rent. Now, I know that some of you might have done business or are looking in Los Angeles. We are familiar with any of the rent controls there. So that's something that a professional management company will do and take care of as well. They know all the rules and regulations of your building, and that's important that you don't make any mistakes on that end. So continuing, why Marshall Reddick, right? There's a lot of management companies And a good indicator that you're in a great rental market is there's a very large list of management companies to choose from. If you're in a market where there's only a couple management companies and the current company you're with is not doing well, and there's not a lot of other options that are better, then that's probably an indicator that it's not the best rental market. Well, it's important to know that Marshall Reddick has really good software. We use a software called AppFolio. It's one of the most powerful management softwares out there today, and it makes it easy for you as the owner to interact with your properties. You'll see all the documents that pertain to your property. You can run custom reports with different date ranges to see everything from your capital improvements, your landscaping, your rent, management fee, everything all in one place. And if you own multiple properties, a lot of our owners do, they're all going to be on that same login as well. Something else is, as I mentioned, is there a conflict of interest with maintenance? So some management companies will have a decreased management fee, or they might have a flat management fee. There's two problems there. They'll decrease their management fee because they have an in-house maintenance team. So a lot of their profit margins comes from maintenance. To us, that's a conflict of interest. On the other hand, if you're looking at a company that has a flat management fee, I would be wary of that because they really have no incentive to rent your property out at market value. If they rent it out over or below market value, they're getting paid the same amount. So it's very helpful to have a company that does a percentage management fee because you know that they have an incentive to rent your property out at a good price. Something else is what's important. There's always going to be someone out there that will do it for cheaper, but are they providing you the good service that you need? Management, like AJ mentioned, will really make or break your investment. So you want to make sure that you have a company that's on top of the tenants, on top of maintenance, on top of rents. And if those three aren't taken care of properly and they don't place a good tenant, then it's really going to harm your overall return. Something else is, are they responsive? I know here at Marshall Reddick, we have a 24-hour policy. If there's a, if anyone reaches out to us, we have 24 hours to respond to them, and that's important that we're responding to people. And at the same time, we have a 24-hour emergency line if the tenants call. So we're always going to respond to tenants. And then check out online reviews. If you guys have a web browser open, feel free to look up Marshall Reddick Real Estate Newport Beach or whatever market you're looking at and check out our reviews. And then any other companies you're looking at, compare them. You'll find that most management companies don't have the best reviews, and you want to look for what owners and tenants are saying. So I would encourage you to take a look at our reviews and any other companies that you're considering. And then last but not least, what's the cancellation policy, right? If something goes wrong, or if you want to cancel, or for any reason you need to terminate, are you going to be held to a contract past a year? Right now, ours is a 1-year contract, and that should be standard. But look out, there are contracts out there that are going to have a term saying this will go past a year, maybe it's 2 years, or maybe it's always with the lease agreement, and then you're 5 years down the road, halfway through a tenant's lease, and you're locked in to pay the remainder management fees on their lease. So look out for what that termination is. It's super important that they have a good termination policy. So let's take a look at some of our properties that we manage. So this one here is in Eastside, Costa Mesa. This is going to be a 4-unit building, and the makeup of each unit is a 2-bed, 1-bath. This is a great property. Marshall Reddick actually helped the investor purchase this investment property and then has managed it ever since. And along with that, we've assisted with, as tenants move out, upgrading and adding value, as AJ mentioned, to the units. And that's something that will increase the overall value of your property. So this property was purchased for about $2 million in 2021. And we obviously helped the purchase of it. And now we currently manage it. So these tenants are managed by Marshall Reddick. They've had several move-outs. We've added value to it. The total monthly income at the moment is around $11,000. And the current market value several years later is a little over 2.75. So that just shows you adding value into it. And I think around a little over 100 grand has been added value to the property. The next example here, this is a property in Burbank. So it's a slightly different area. This is going to act a little differently than the Orange County market. I would say the Orange County versus Los Angeles market, depending on where you are, you'll see a better option for cash flow versus appreciation, depending on the unit size and where you are. So a lot of times in Los Angeles, we're seeing good cash flow opportunity, not as heavy on the appreciation side, but this one specifically, this unit is a 5-unit building. All of the makeups are a 2-bed, 1.5 bath, and then the total monthly income is $13,200. And this was purchased for $1.375 in 2013. And so after running comps together with AJ and I, we've taken a look at it, and as the owner has thought about or talked about the potential for selling, we saw that the value is closer to around 2.5 at this time, which is almost $1 million in appreciation over the last 10 years. That's incredible. And that's just really a testament to not only are you receiving monthly cash flow, but you have to factor in appreciation is going to add to your investment and your total ROI over time. Something else too is in the next couple months, the rents have the ability to be increased around $750 total for the unit. And that's something to always factor in if you're looking at a property. When was the last time they had a rent increase? Can you buy it and increase the rents, or are you locked in for another year? That's something that's to note. And a real estate professional like AJ will do that for you. Something else is we currently manage it. So that's a little bit about this property. And I'm actually going to turn it back over to AJ for this duplex here that he recently sold.
All right, so this is a duplex in Dana Point, California. It's a great property. So my clients purchased this property back in 2018. They're commercial real estate guys. They were in a 1031 exchange, and they just had a little bit of money left over on the exchange, and they had to purchase an asset that they were hoping would appreciate over time. They bought it in 2018 for $1 million. At the time when they purchased the property, the rents were only at $2,150 per unit. Now, the property was slightly dilapidated. It was tired. The tenants in there weren't the best tenants, but they wanted to renew their leases and they were always paying on time. So the owner said, great. I actually renegotiated the leases for them and was able to get it rented out for them back in 2018 for $2,500 per unit. And that was before any renovations of the property occurred at all. We did it on a 1-year lease. As Cameron mentioned, every year you want to reassess the property, see where rents are at. So we rented out for $2,500 for each unit. They were now bringing in about $5,000 a month compared to $4,300 a month. And it was like that for about 2 years. They didn't really raise the rents until the tenants at one point wanted to move out. When the tenants wanted to move out, they actually remodeled one of the units only inside and were able to rent out the property for a little bit more. And then in the beginning of 2023, they had a problem with the roof on the property. So they actually had to get both the tenants out of the property. And while they were redoing the roof, they realized, you know what? We ran some numbers and talked about value add to the property and what's going on in the Dana Point community. And they decided that it was worth putting some money into the property. So they put roughly $250,000 into the property. They put on a new roof. They added air-conditioned central AC to both the units. They redid the kitchens, redid the bathrooms, put in some newer windows, new front doors. They added laundry, non-coin operated laundry to both of the garages around the back and did a full garage remodel, epoxy floors, operating doors, and fixed some drainage issues in the back of the property. All that ended up being about $250,000. So now they're in the property for $1,250,000. I was able to rent these out for market rents now, since they put all that money into the property and made it really, really nice inside. And these are probably some of the nicest 2-bed, 1-bath units that you would find in Dana Point. We ended up renting out the top unit for $3,950 back in August, and the bottom unit for $3,650 back in August. So we brought the total monthly rent income to $7,600. And about a month later, 2 months later, the owners contacted me and they said, you know what, AJ, We've seen that properties have been trading for 3.5% to 4% of a cap rate in Dana Point. We want to put it on the market. So we put it on the market, and we actually just sold this on January 3rd for $1.640 million. So they actually ended up profiting about just under $400,000 on this specific property. The purchaser, the buyer who was in his own 1031 exchange, who just like the sellers had a little piece of the pie that he needed to complete on his 1031 exchange, loved the service that we provided so well during the escrow process and loved the tenants that we placed in the property, because these are the cleanest tenants I've ever come across in my whole life. He actually reached out to us this last week and said, hey, I want to continue to use Marshall Reddick as my property manager. You guys know the property, you know the tenants, you place the tenants, and you're local to the area. So it's really, really cool and flattering to see someone who we don't know from Adam decide to trust us with their asset because they saw what a good job we did. So here's some current properties that are great investments that are on the market right now. First one's 102 West Avenida Santiago in San Clemente. This property is a 4-unit. It's listed at $2.495 million, so just under $2.5 million. And I ran these numbers with 40% down. Obviously, you could put less down if you wanted to. We just wanted to make sure we had these cash flowing a little bit on the monthly income. You could put as low as 30, 25% down, 20% down if you really wanted to. But this property is amazing. It's got ocean views. One of the units is 3-bed, 2-bath. 2 units are 2-bed, 1-bath. And then it's got another unit that's 1-bed, 1-bath. And right now, the current rents of this property, the 3-bed is renting out for $3,300. One of the 2 ones is renting out for $2,850. The other one's renting out for $2,400, and the 1 unit's renting out for $1,540. Now, if you were to purchase this property and renovate these units slightly, I've been inside them. They really just need some new countertops, new paint, and maybe some new appliances. Not a lot of money, right? Now, if you did this to a single family home, you went in, let's say you had to put 50, 75, 100 grand into the home, you might never be able to recapture that money. It might be nicer to live in personally, but to say that you're really making your home more expensive and to sell for a lot more money may not happen. At least with multifamily, when you put money into the property and you're able to raise the rents to a market rent, for instance, the 3-bedroom, which should rent out for about $4,150, the 2 bedrooms should rent out for $3,500, and the 1-bedroom should at least rent out for $1,850. You go in and just put in some new countertops, some canned lighting, repaint it, make sure the floors are all good, take out any carpet, put in some LVT flooring. You're going to be increasing your monthly rent by $3,000 a month. $3,000 times 12 is $36,000. Let's say it cost you $100,000 to do that remodel. You're going to be able to recapture that money in 3 to 4 years. And you're going to be increasing the NOI of your property, which is going to increase the value of your property, which is really the beauty of multifamily investing, is that unless you have a terrible management company or you're not managing it at all and letting the property just dwindle away, it's very, very hard to mess these up. And you can add so much value. You'll be able to recapture the money that you put into it, and you're going to be raising the value of your property. You can see here, if you ended up doing this light remodel to this property at 40% down, you'd be cash flowing about $122 a month. This is a very large appreciation play. Southwest San Clemente, you are a stone throw away from the best surfing beaches in Southern California. It's got a great downtown. The city has a great history. It's a little Spanish village by the sea. And you see appreciation in this town on an average of 3.9%. But in years like 2020, 2021, 2022, you saw appreciation anywhere from 15 to 25%. So that 3.9% number is very conservative. All these numbers on this graph are very conservative. We estimate our maintenance and vacancy at 8% per year, which is also a very conservative number. I know in San Clemente, you could have happy tenants that never want to leave their unit, and they may not leave for 5 years. And then after the 5-year mark, you know, maybe they leave, and then you have to reassess the property and do a little bit of work before you find another tenant again. This other property is a 6-unit in Eastside Costa Mesa at 266-276 East 20th Street. This is 2 triplexes that are mirror images of each other. Every unit is 2-bed, 1 bath. Every unit has a garage, and it's a really well-maintained property. Currently, the rents per month are about $19,000 a month. And there's a little wiggle room there. You could get them up to about $3,600 a month and have the monthly rents be $21,000. But as you could see from the numbers here, this property would already cash flow at 30% down. At 40% down, it would be cash flowing a lot. You would be making about $3,923 a month. And you're in the Eastside Costa Mesa market, which I don't know if everybody is aware of. It's very close to Newport Beach. And all of that real estate in Newport Beach, all that eclectic money in Corona del Mar and Newport Beach, it's overflowing into Eastside Costa Mesa. You have the same school districts as an area of Newport Beach. You have people, everyone wants to live there. It's close to the airport. It's close to South Coast Metro, good shopping, Irvine, obviously Newport Beach beaches, Fashion Island, basically everything anyone wants in Southern Orange County. This property, you wouldn't have to do much to it. It's already remodeled. It's just not rented at what the current market rents would be. So you'd have to, you know, as each unit turns over, as Cameron said, reassess the market, see if the current tenants want to pay the market rent. If they don't, get those tenants out and find a new tenant who will. So this is the Marshall Reddick property rating ebook. This is how we classify property class. It's a very easy read. I would suggest everybody on this webinar to download it, read it, and get to know it. It goes everywhere from luxury class to D class, how we classify properties, and this is the fundamental tool in real estate investing, and it's going to show you what exactly we're looking for a good investment and how to classify those investments and how to ultimately make the most educated decision when you're getting started in real estate investing. As some of you may know, we have multiple educational videos on our website. We're an educational-based company. You could go on our website and use our financial calculator to look up cap rates, return on investment, net operating income. It's the best property calculator around. Before I ever joined Marshall Reddick, I would log on to our website just to use our financial calculator. That's how good it is. And I was at another firm back then. That's actually how I found out about Marshall Reddick. So it's really helpful to use, and I would suggest for anyone to go on our website, create an account, look at any of our educational videos, our articles, our market guides, and play around with our calculator. It's really fun to do. So last but not least, this is me again. This is my contact information. If you ever want to schedule a complimentary consultation with me, I'm available any day of the week. You got my phone number there, my email, and I'll also be following up with all of you on this webinar in the next few days to answer any of the questions that you might have in the chat as well. And that is all. Look forward to speaking with all of you and look forward to talking more about multifamily investing in Southern California here in the next few weeks. Thanks, everyone.